All right. Well, happy Tuesday evening. Here we are. We're going to go right at it because this is a topic. What is the most profitable photography field? Now, there's a lot of assumptions made about what people assume is the most profitable field. And, you know, that is going people are gonna often assume it's the one that brings in the most money or is the most expensive field, right? Like high-end ticket items, like weddings versus portraits. Now, that's not necessarily true. And of course, this was kind of a trick question because when it comes down to it, one specific field isn't actually more profitable than the other. But don't worry, I'm not leaving you hanging. I actually have some solid tips and ideas. So listen to this to the end. It's going to really help you formulate what kind of profitable photographer you are. And in my idea, the idea of profitability in a photography business is how fast you can bring in the money, how easy you can bring in the money, and how much, right? So easy is part of it. If you're working really, really, really hard and if you break that down into per hour you're getting paid, you're not really that profitable because you're not paying yourself a huge amount. So it really comes down to smarter, not harder. And oftentimes, harder is not the answer for profit because if you're working, and I'm not saying you don't have to work hard in your business, you definitely have to work hard. But if you're working hard in your business and that difficulty is smart, it can actually excite you and you're showing return on your investment. The question is, are you working harder for where it's not going in the right direction? Because that can lead to frustration, it can lead out to burnout, and it can ultimately lead to your confidence starting to get low. And when you're burnout and your confidence is low and you're frustrated, you're going to possibly start cutting deals, right? And that then leads to the opposite of profitability. So I'm going to drill into you working smarter is most important. Now, the trick is not to stay stagnant, not to stay where you are. So as your photography grows, especially when you're just beginning, if your beginning is like, okay, I need to get some money in fast, you're going to start at a certain level. But once you start to gain your skill set, you know where you are strongest, you're going to start to acknowledge and see where your strong points are. You can excel in that area and you can outsource in the other areas. This is again, that comes into the working smarter, not harder, where you can build your career from an area that's going to be best for you. Once you get to a certain point, you're going to want to reassess. You're going to want to look and see, okay, where can I change my profit values? Where can I spend more money that's going to give me a higher return on your investment? And as your business grows, the idea of what aspect and field of photography is most profitable for you could also change, right? So we're going to talk about this a little bit. The idea of profitable photography. Yes, you can say that weddings and commercial and travel you might think are the most profitable because you might potentially get right out the door the most money up front. But the question is, how easy is it to break into these fields? How much time are you putting into it beforehand and afterwards? And there's all these other aspects in it, right? Like if you book a wedding, chances are that wedding's not tomorrow. So the actual profitability aspect gets pushed down the line a little bit, right? And at that point, how much time are you going to put in? Again, paying yourself per hour, what does that work out to be? So when you're first starting out, getting in there right away, trying to build a profit in your business, here's what you're going to do. You're going to look at the smaller, easier, right up front where you can start making money. And it's going to be the things that are right in front of you, the things that you can do tomorrow. I'm not saying you can't book a wedding tomorrow, but chances are a couple's probably booking their photographer more than a day in advance. But what you can look at are real estate, portraits, and even event photography. So think long game where you think you want to go and what can build your knowledge and build your experience and build your network in the moment. Now, again, the bigger ticket items might appear bigger profitable game, but it's a long game. So there's going to be more behind the scenes. There's going to be more potential pressure And you're going to have to potentially have more of an overhead. All of these are going to work down because when it comes down to it, profitability and working on profitability is math, not just a financial math game, but your time invested math as well. And so you want to look at weddings and travel and look at this. Plus, yes, these three things have the capability of being hugely profitable, but it usually takes a little time. And like if you're looking at being a National Geographic photographer and traveling the world and getting paid the big bucks, yeah, it's there. And I'm not saying don't try for it and don't shoot for the stars. Always shoot for the stars. Although, if you think about it, it's kind of like the acting game, right? How many people out there are really Brad Pitts and George Clooney's and the percentage of it? And to get to that point, when you're working commercial and you're working editorial, you're really going to start off making very little money, which is really not where the profit is. So maybe another potential is if this is your dream, what is the supplemental profit photography that you can help to get you to your dream? Again, don't stop dreaming. Just shift where you're going to get the money at the beginning and use them both to help you, right? Okay, so now let's talk about where to spend your money smartly. So here's the thing. Like I mentioned earlier, profitability comes down to math. Where is the fastest, easiest way that you can bring in the most money today? And like any business, there is going to be a little investment at the beginning, right? Nothing is free. So let's say you're trying to start a business and you're not investing money anywhere. That's great. You can do that, but you're going to probably compromise with one of the three things we talked about that equals to profitability. Like, for example, if you're not taking investments at the beginning, there's a really good time that the point at which you start your business and the point at which you start making more money is going to be longer out because you're going to be doing every little thing yourself versus when you have people in a team helping you, then you're going to get to where you want to be faster, right? So it's like a bell curve and you want to be at the peak of that top. Okay, so let's think again. You want to think where is the smartest places to invest in your business when you're beginning, right? So this is also the faster that you can start getting paid, the more you can get that confidence. And the confidence is really so important. You're going to be able to build your portfolio faster. Everything is going to be a little bit expedited, right? So think about what can build the confidence in your business and how you can get there the smartest, easiest way. Okay, now let's talk about how to get there. So like we talked about, it's less about which is more profitable, but which is more profitable for you. So it's less about which field of photography is more profitable in general, but which is more profitable for you. Now, these are some tips on how you can figure this out. Here's where you want to start, or if you're already in your business and you feel like you're in a little funk, there's some tools that you can go back and reassess. Do what you need to get your little juju back and reassess where you're at and get some profits in your bank right away. One, look at your network. Look at the people who already know and love you, right? You want to build your network at the beginning with the people who already know and love you and trust you because yes, you definitely want to get in front of people who don't know you because you want to expand your network, but you're just starting. So how can you get your first dollar? How can you start the juju, start the wheel, start the engine rolling using who already knows and loves you because they want to support you? So that's the first thing you want to do. You want to start looking at your network around you. Think about some of the main people in your life that you want to hire you. What are their problems that you can help solve? Let's say if you're looking at your network, you for some reason know a ton of realtors, a ton of people in the real estate industry, or a ton of people who have vacation rentals. Maybe real estate photography is a profitable area for you to start in. Or, a lot of people who have kids and maybe family photography, senior sessions. Like I talked about, there are these certain levels of photography that's easier to break into right away that you can literally book in a week. And the minute you get your first booking, things start to roll and things start to change. And then all of a sudden, what's the most profitable photography for you is probably maybe potentially different than the profitable photographer for something else. But the goal is right now, right? Think end game, but where can you help yourself in the moment? Because it's all about, when it comes to businesses, those little wins. And I'm telling you, 17 years in business and those little wins change everything. So Where's their needs? Is it real estate photography? Is it event? Do you have a friend who's throwing a party? Hey, I'll do this for you. And to be honest, if you're, how do I say this? So I always get hesitant to say doing something for free, but free doesn't always necessarily mean money. So let's say you have a friend of yours who's throwing a huge birthday party next week, and you are like, I want to do this, but you know that they may not have the money, or they've already expended their budget for their party. Offer to shoot 1 hour. This way, it's not free. Sure, there's no money changing hands, but where else are you gaining, right? Where is the trade-off? You're getting exposure. You're meeting their people. You then get their way to send them the photos. So you're getting their contacts. So you're building your list. So when you look at doing something for barter or for free, it's not free. And you have to make sure you feel good about these things, but you want to make a list of what you're actually gaining from the situation as quote unquote payment, right? And if it's not putting you out that much, it can be a huge win in your business. And again, it builds the confidence and it gets your name out there, and it builds these other aspects that are really most important, right? So look at the problems, see how you can solve them. This could be starting into your niche. Again, starting in those things that you can do in a week, because what you can do in a week makes you feel so good about a month, as opposed to looking down the road and going, how the heck am I going to be able to build a business? I can't even imagine what that looks like. When you make a little win, you can start to imagine what that feels like and what that looks like. So now you look at the pricing, look at your network, see who's around you, start spreading the word, see what their needs are. You know these people well enough that you know when they're going to have birthday parties or if they want to take kids with their families. These aren't strangers. 2, what are their needs and their problems, and how can you help them solve it? 3, pricing. Always a sticky conversation, right? So now you can assess pricing. You can have, these are your friends or families. Again, you can straight up ask, right? Because if they've ever had portraits done in the past, they know what they paid in the past, right? So you can have a conversation openly with some people you can't. So there's 3 different ways you can look at pricing and pages for this. One is like what we talked about. I'm going to do this for free in exchange for A, B, C, and D. Either a barter or trade, something that they have that you can give them, because I think in this day and age, people love trade. To be honest, when I'm here in Bali, I don't accept money on any portrait sessions. It's kind of my quiet season. I do so much in the summer that in the winter, anything I want to do stress-free and fun. And I usually do it for trade. So I'll do it for a product that someone else. So for example, I might do some product photography in exchange for whatever my friend's product is. And that's my form of payment, and I feel really good about it. Everyone feels good. It's a win-win. Number 2 is, let's say their budget on the lower side. Okay, that's fine. Then that means ultimately to turn the profit, you're going to want to do a more quantity model. So you're going to want more like that. So look at your group and kind of see, okay, where, or, the type of photography comes in as well, right? So you might charge less for a small mini session, more for a larger session. And this is where you can spread it out. I have a pricing download that I can send you if you're interested. DM me and I can tell you kind of my pricing models on different theories and stuff like that as well. And then, of course, there's the larger budget, which then is a quality mode. So quantity or quality, right? So if it's a lower budget, you're obviously going to have to book more to make more of a profit. And if it's a larger budget, you're going to have to work harder on your marketing, right? So then at that point, you have to work harder on your marketing, which again comes into those big ticket items, oftentimes might seem like they're the most profitable, but what else is behind the scenes that's getting you there? And it changes for everyone. Now, I want to talk about some ways in which you can work smarter, right? Now, here are more smarter ways to turn every photography field into more profit, right? And this is just, don't leave money on the table, right? Where in your business can you start to be more smart? And that way you're going to build a profit faster. You can work more time, more efficiency, all these different aspects. Because again, if we're looking at profitability is not just dollar signs, but also time and ease, it's a moving compromise. So this is my favorite one. Smartest move you can do in your business. What else, and think about it, what else besides the actual photos can you offer? And also make sure it's always worth your time and effort. So for example, prints. Oftentimes a photographer gets scared to offer prints or albums because it seems like it's an overwhelming task and it's an overhead for them. But this is where the one awesome investment in outsourcing is an online gallery. Some of you might have this, others may not have this or know what I'm talking about. But basically an online gallery is how you deliver your photos to the client. There's many software programs out there. I personally suggest ShootProof. This is key. One, it presents you as being a professional. And the minute you're presenting yourself as being a professional, it makes people feel more safe and secure and spending more money with you. Two, prints. You're not leaving money on the table. You really do nothing for prints. It's basically free money. Sure, the company's going to take a cut, but they're going to take a cut of something that wouldn't have been there to begin with, right? And you still get to set the prices of how much you want to make. So when you create the gallery, they're going to offer prints. You pick the prices. It's an amazing aspect. So when it comes to photography being the most profitable, it's not just about the initial shoot. So yes, for example, portraits versus weddings. There's a lot of different theories on how you can run a business with this. Oftentimes with weddings, everything's upfront. It's in a package. One time, big chunk of money, done, right? But portraits, might be a small investment at the beginning, a couple hundred, whatever, for a sitting fee. But then the products, they want albums, they want pictures on their wall, they buy senior pictures for their senior parties, and all these other things add up. So it really depends on your structure that they can all be profitable depending on how you work with these smart avenues. One, don't leave money on the table. Look at offering prints, do an online gallery, and also albums. Albums aren't necessarily always offered through the online gallery, so this might take a tiny little bit more work, but it might potentially have a larger payoff in the end. You have to believe in wanting to sell these items, right? You have to believe in the beauty. Like for me, I truly, truly love albums, and I wish everyone in the world would have an album because I feel like, I had this conversation with someone the other day. Digital is great, but you really don't know when digital is going to disappear. If it could, Wi-Fi goes down, you can't access a photo. But if you have a book and an album, you know you have that forever. Time has shown us that albums last and photos last. Sorry, you guys don't need me to hear my spiel on how important albums are. Anyways, next, continuing relationships. This is so important as well. Keep your lists live, reach out, be authentic, continue your relationship so you are staying front of mind. Be unforgettable. You want to be, when someone's sitting there chatting with their friends and they talk about family portraits or senior portraits or real estate portraits or photography or wedding photography, you don't want them to just keep talking about whatever they're talking about. You want to be like, you know what? There's this photographer we used, Andreka. She was so great. She was so this, she was so that. And a lot of times this is marketing and branding. Here's the thing. All of this business stuff is what a lot of new photographers forget to invest in. They think, I'll do it when I have more clients. I don't have enough money right now to do this. But that is the thing that stops them from a growth that looks like this and a growth that looks like this. Do you see what I'm saying? Like focusing on the business stuff, branding, marketing, figuring out how you can make more money outside your photos, not leaving money on the table. These are the differences, right? This is the difference that's going to show the exponential growth versus just this tiny little growth here and there. It depends on how fast you want to build your business, really. And again, that's where the profitability comes in. So here's the thing. 100% outsourcing is key. It's scary. It's scary to spend money you haven't actually made yet. But that really is going to be the key to do this, right? Investing in things like an online gallery, investing in mentorship, investing in different educational platforms, investing in editors. Figure out what's good for you. And this is the key. Outsource and these other three items. Don't leave money on the table. Continuing relationships, being unforgettable, and knowing outsourcing, knowing where the smart place to invest is, right? That's the key, knowing the smartness. So I'm going to tell you a little story about investing. Actually, I'm going to tell you two little stories. One is when I first started my business, what it did for me. Confidence is really key to this. So buying my camera, I grew up doing photos. I always loved photography. I never thought it was a real career. Then one day in my late 20s, I was like, I gotta do this. I just gotta do this. And I walked into Sammy's Camera in Santa Barbara, California, and I went, all right, I'm diving in. And I looked at the guy, Jay, who ended up being my camera guy for many years, and I went, I want to be a wedding photographer. I didn't take my advice. I dove straight in. That said, I did end up doing portraits before. So I was like, I want to do a wedding photography. What do I need to buy right now? And he goes, you need a 5D, you need a 24 to 70, you need a 70 to 200. And I went, okay, what can I get approved for on a credit card? Again, this is a funny story. Do not take a financial advice from me at all, but you'll get to my point. And the credit card was for the exact amount of what I needed to buy all the professional equipment I needed. So here I am. I walk away with $7,000 debt and a camera and 2 major lenses and all the equipment. Now I got to make this work, right? The fire had been lit and there was no turning back. I had to do this. And it was that investment, that scary leap, that then made me go, I got to do it. Now, a similar thing happened to me about 10 years into my business. So at this point, I was flying high, but I made the mistake. I'd become stagnant. I thought, this is great. I'm good. I don't have to do much more. I've established, everything's fine. Well, life changes, markets change, industries change, and I wasn't changing. And you know what I did? I had forgotten about business. I had fly high just on the people I knew, just on the network, just on these 3 things we kind of talked about earlier about using what you have, but I hadn't invested in business. And at that point is when I found my business coach. And at that point, it was like the same type of thing. I didn't have necessarily the extra funds to invest in it, but I knew I had to do it. It was either I was going to shut my doors or I had to take the leap and invest. And thank goodness I did, because now business is the most important and exciting part of what I do, right? One of them, but I love it. And I think it's so neat. It's like these math equations that work together. And had I not taken those leaps, I knew I wouldn't be here where I am today. And the thing with the business coach is having someone behind you so you know you're making the smart move is the key to again, having your business go like this versus having your business just kind of float above and slowly increase, right? So when it comes down to it, it's not the type of photography field that is the most profitable, but the type of photographer. Are you well-rounded? Are you confident, smart, driven? And are you looking at not just the art of photography, but also the business aspect, right? And understanding all the nuances. So that was a long one. I hope it was helpful. And please let me know in the comments. Please DM me. Let me know your thoughts. And let me know if there's a different type of photography field that you have questions about and what the profitability aspect are those. I love diving deep and looking at these types of things to see how they all work out. So thanks, friends.